The strongest man who fell the hardest. Strength, power, a calling straight from God. Samson had all of it. He was chosen before birth, set apart to lead Israel, given supernatural strength that no man could match. And yet, he lost it all, not in battle, not because he was overpowered, but because he gave it away. Samson's story is a warning. You can be gifted, you can be chosen, you can be strong, but if you don't guard what God has given you, it can all slip through your hands. And maybe that's you. Maybe you feel like you've wasted time, lost opportunities, fallen into the same traps over and over. Maybe you've thrown away your calling, or at least it feels like it. So what do? Is it too late? Let's look at Samson's rise, his downfall, and the moment he finally understood where his true strength came from. Because his story isn't just about his failure, it's about his redemption. Samson's gift. Strength was never the real power. Samson was set apart as a Nazirite, God's chosen judge for Israel. His strength wasn't just raw muscle, it was a sign of God's presence in his life. As long as he followed God, no enemy could stand against him. But Samson made a mistake. He thought the strength was his. He played games with his calling. He broke his vows. He let his flesh lead instead of his faith, and every time it pulled him further from God. Here's the truth. A gift from God doesn't mean you're invincible. It means you're responsible. If you take God's power but refuse to walk in obedience, you will eventually fall. Samson's real downfall wasn't losing his strength, it was losing his connection with God. The fall, when strength becomes a trap. Samson was powerful, but he was reckless. His greatest weakness. He didn't take his calling seriously. Every time he got in trouble, he relied on his strength to get out of it. He never stopped to ask, "Am I still walking with God?" Then came Delilah, and the truth is she wasn't the real problem. Samson's downfall didn't start with her. It started long before, when he ignored every warning sign, every conviction, every moment when God was calling him back. But Samson kept playing with fire, kept assuming his strength would always be there. Until one day, it wasn't. Here's where it gets real. Some of you have been relying on your own strength for too long. You think you'll always have time to get right with God, to break free from that habit, to fix that broken relationship. But the longer you wait, the weaker you become. The darkest moment, when God steps back. Judges 16:20 says something terrifying. He did not know that the Lord had left him. Samson woke up one day and his strength was gone. He thought he could shake himself free like always, but this time was different. The power he had taken for granted was gone. He was captured, chained, blinded, mocked. The strongest man in Israel reduced to nothing. And maybe that's you. Maybe you've been knocked down. Maybe you've lost what you thought could never be taken away. And now you're wondering, is there still hope for me? The redemption, when weakness becomes strength. Here's what most people forget about Samson. His greatest victory didn't come when he was strong. It came when he was weak. Samson finally realized the truth. His strength was never about him. It was always about God. And in that moment, everything changed. Chained to the pillars of a pagan temple, blind and broken, Samson did something he hadn't done before. He prayed, "Lord, strengthen me one more time." And God answered, not because Samson was perfect, not because he deserved it, but because grace is bigger than failure. Samson pushed with all his might, and the temple collapsed, taking out more enemies in his death than in his entire life. His story didn't end in defeat. It ended in redemption. Maybe you've messed up. Maybe you've thrown away opportunities, gifts, and time. Maybe you feel like it's too late. But listen to me. If you're still breathing, God's not done. Your strength isn't in you, it's in Him. And the second you surrender, the second you admit you can't do this on your own, God steps in. If you're ready to stop running, type "I choose strength" in the comments below. Let this be the moment you stop fighting alone. And if this message spoke to you, send it to someone who needs it. Because we all have a Samson moment, but we don't have to stay there.